Now it's time to flip the script on the pentatonic scale and explore its major cousin. So the major pentatonic scale, obviously, is the happier version of the minor pentatonic scale. It possesses 5 notes, just like the minor pentatonic scale, only it is navigated through with the major tonality. So let's take a look. We have our root note. As always, we're doing key of E. Our root note is 7th fret of the A string. Then we got 9th fret. Those are 2, right? And then we have our major third here. And then we have our 5th. And then our 6th. So if we were to actually look at the major scale, right, the Ionian mode, right, it's just essentially that, just we're omitting 2 notes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Major pentatonic. There you have it. Very different from, right? It's cool how just rearranging the notes in context gives it a completely different mood, right? A different sound. Now, of course, like if we're gonna think about applications of major pentatonic, you know, I mean, my mind always loves to go to like Allman Brothers and that kind of stuff. It's just always like such a joyful sound while still being cool, you know, and rock and roll. And I mean, that's one thing about major pentatonic that's great. And of course, it's got a place in like you know, classic rock, folk, Americana, country, that kind of, and in blues too, absolutely. You know, it's a little bit, it's more of a matter of taste. I find there's some guitar players who don't really like using major pentatonic in blues, and I get that. You don't want to overuse it. I would say it's like got to be an 80-20 split between minor pentatonic and major pentatonic. And of course, with the major pentatonic, you want to find the right places to put it. But, you know, that's another conversation, and we'll get to that when we talk more about improvising. But just getting to know each note, right? If we were to just wander through, root note, obviously, you know, then we got our 2nd and our 3rd. That 3rd's a really pretty one. It's got a nice, pleasing tension to it, you know. And we got our 5th and our 6th there. So even just with those notes, you can come up with some really pretty and nice sounding lines. You know, whether or not you would use these in an actual like solo or something, I mean, that's entirely up to you. But of course, you can apply that same deal if you were to, let's say, play the E major pentatonic, but in a different position, right? So I mean, you know, like right there, if you were to do something like, so you can apply similar ideas that you work out here, but they've matured, right? And they've just adapted to the new position on the fretboard. So remember, these notes are the same as this. Just an octave up, right? So that's what I said before, when you're learning all these different scales and all their different positions on the fretboard, you're learning just the same 5 or 7 notes, depending on the scale, right? Just repeated, sometimes in the same octave and sometimes in different octaves. So get to know the fundamental 5 notes in this case, and then when you expand it out and you start applying it to the different positions and the different octaves, you can actually like know what to do with them, for one, but really take full advantage of the additional kind of sounds you can get because of that. Otherwise, if you were to just give yourself all this territory to mess with, you'll be, you know, oftentimes too overwhelmed to know where to even start, you know. And sometimes that's why I like to just really start with the basics, right? Just get to know the scale as it is and just find ways to like make it sound interesting. So we can take the stacked note approach, right? Like That's pretty cool, you know, just like, oh. It's tempting to go outside of the scale, right? Outside of those 5 notes. And even myself, I have to stop myself from doing that. So it's like, and look at it this way. It's like you're gonna have access to those additional notes, of course. I'm not trying to tell yourself to withhold like too much, right? But just force yourself to make those 5 notes interesting, and then like graduate to additional notes, right? If it's like notes into a new octave. I mean, because think of it this way too, like another hallmark of a great guitar player that I've seen is that you can take a lick in one position and play it in another position on the fretboard, not just in a different octave, but in the same octave, you know, because that just shows that you are comfortable position-wise anywhere on the fretboard to get the same idea that you're trying to accomplish, right? You're not just like stuck in one place because all you really know is that particular scale pattern, right? Which I'm not saying that that's a bad thing to be able to do that, but it's like when you have to lean on that too much, it becomes scary to venture outside, but you want to be comfortable no matter where you are on the fretboard. So if you were to just like paratroop your fingers in just a random position and you're still playing an E major pentatonic, you want to be able to know exactly what to do once you get there. And as far as the what on what to do, it starts here, right? It starts with this basic position here. So let's do some more wandering, right? Ooh, that sounds nice. The 2 and the 6. And then the 1 and the 5. Different than your typical major pentatonic sound, right? And then let's try, I don't know, let's try the 3rd and the 3 and the 2. Sounding almost pop punk right there, right? Right, which could totally be like a early 2000s pop punk, like a signature riff, you know? So it's like, you know, just again, you're able to like, you know, I'm wanting you to kind of just for the purpose of this video to live vicariously through me, because this is exactly what I want you to do, right? Once you are done watching this video, I want you to explore this in the same way and find cool little ideas, like stumble on stuff like that. I'm doing this all in real time. Like none of this is planned. I'm trying to like show the proof in the pudding on how this whole approach works, you know, where you can just like stumble on cool ideas and, you know, you get excited about them and you get inspired, and that's just how it starts, right? Once those gears are turning, you want to keep them turning, but you can get an infinite amount of ideas just by taking a simple pattern like this and approaching it in a multitude of different ways. But now that we've gone through this little series exploring the scales, right, we're going to talk about how to actually apply them in upcoming videos, all right? So this obviously is all leading towards something. I just want you to know that in order to not overwhelm you with like too much like academic information and just a fretboard full of like scales and stuff to mess around with, because I know for a fact that if you spend time with each individual scale and get to know it in just one key, start slow and start simple, you're going to understand the scale on a much more fundamental, deep level, to where whatever key you adapt it to, whatever octave it changes to, those same rules are going to carry over. The same things that you've put into learning that one, you know, that one octave and that one key, it's all going to apply. You just move the goalpost on where it is. So work those ideas out now, and then we'll know exactly what to do when you start adapting them to different keys and different octaves.